Me, my ideal scenario, I want a 4th round finish. I don't want any early knockout, because then there's ifs, buts, maybes, there's excuses. I want 4 rounds of domination, and in that 4th round, I'm going to tell everybody, I'm going to do it now, and then I'm going to go and I'm going to finish him. I'm going to open the door, I'm going to walk him into my traps, and I'm going to take his head clean off his shoulders.
I'm a massive fan of his. Nothing but respect for that man. But I beat him.
The war of words just reached another level. Ian Garry didn't just pick a winner for UFC 330. He predicted Islam Makhachev would be knocked out in the 4th round. It's a statement that's already turning heads across the MMA world.
But the most important thing in my mind is what I do in that octagon. And when I go out there August 15th and I get my hand raised against the best fighter on the planet and become the welterweight champion of the world.
Building on that, Ian Garry expressed confidence in his future, believing he had the potential to dominate the division, compete in multiple world title fights, and take part in some of the sport's biggest rematches. He added that he is excited for everything that lay ahead.
I have 10 years in this sport to dominate and have world title fight after world title fight and the biggest, baddest rematches the sport could ever see. I'm excited for every second of it.
That ambition came with a clear target. Ian Garry emphasized that becoming the best meant defeating the very best, which is why Islam Makhachev was the opponent he wanted most. Garry described Islam as the current pound-for-pound #1 and believed that beating a champion of his caliber would leave no doubt that he was the world's best welterweight and one of the top fighters in the sport.
A 2-weight world champion, pound-for-pound #1, and on the verge of breaking the longest consecutive win streak in UFC history. It's nothing but exception. However, I've always said to you from the first time you spoke, well before I was in the UFC, to be the best, you have to beat the best. There is nobody else I would want to beat to prove that I'm the champion of the world. There is nobody else I'm more excited to fight and test myself against than this dominance in Islam Makhachev. He's earned that title as the pound-for-pound champion, at the pound-for-pound #1 on the planet right now. That's the guy I want to take out. To me, to make sure that it's undeniable, when I beat him, I am the best welterweight on the planet, and arguably the #1 pound-for-pound fighter on the planet.
Offering his technical assessment, Michael Bisping highlighted Islam Makhachev's elite grappling as a major advantage if he managed to take Ian Garry to the ground. However, Bisping believed Garry's length, reach, and movement could frustrate Islam by keeping the fight at range. He added that Garry would stay committed to that strategy regardless of the crowd, although Makhachev's relentless pressure would make it difficult to execute.
The record of Islam Makhachev is 28 wins and 1 loss, with 18 stoppages. And of course, if he can get a hold of Ian Garry and take him down, yeah, it's probably going to be easy. Ian will struggle to get back to his feet, and I don't think he can match Islam in terms of jiu-jitsu or submission grappling, okay? But it's the style that Ian Garry has. It is the length and the reach that he has, and it is his ability to silence out the crowd and not give a damn if you people are booing. If everyone in the arena is throwing their popcorn and the drinks and going, boo, this is garbage, because all Ian Garry is doing is dancing around, popping the jab, throwing the right hand, using push kicks to keep Islam away, he won't care, because on paper, or according to the judges, he's winning the fight. And his job is to win the fight and become the welterweight champion of the world. But of course, it ain't going to be easy. Islam's going to go forward. I'm just saying.
At the same time, Ian Garry praised Islam Makhachev as one of the greatest fighters of his generation, recognizing the respect he has earned throughout the MMA world. Garry made it clear that facing Islam had only increased his admiration, stressing that his respect for the champion remained unchanged even as he prepared to challenge him.
Believe Islam is afraid of anybody. I think he's absolutely one of the best fighters of this generation. I think he knows it. Everybody else knows it. We all respect him. I have nothing but love and respect for him. I've said this multiple times. Nothing changes because he's my opponent.
That respect, however, didn't stop others from breaking down the matchup. Michael Bisping praised Islam Makhachev as one of the sport's all-time greats, but warned against overlooking Ian Garry. Bisping highlighted Gary's evolution into a well-rounded mixed martial artist, pointing to his strong record, competitive performance against Shavkat Rakhmonov, and victory over former champion Belal Muhammad. He argued that those achievements proved Garry was a legitimate threat, making the matchup far more competitive than many expected.
Islam Makhachev is the GOAT. He's going to take him down. The man's Irish. They don't wrestle in Ireland, for crying out loud. Well, guess what? He's a well-rounded mixed martial artist. He's 17-1. He had a very, very close fight with Shavkat Rakhmonov, ended the fight threatening the rear naked choke. He beat the former champion, Belal Muhammad, that wrestled the life out of Leon Edwards, okay? So this is a real fight. Before you start to think that this is just going to be one-way traffic, I'm telling you, this is going to be a lot tougher than what you think.
A similar view came from Chael Sonnen, pointing to Ian Garry's biggest advantage as his length and ability to manage distance. While Sonnen believed Islam Makhachev excelled at closing the gap, he noted that a full training camp could help Garry sharpen his range control and keep Makhachev at the end of his punches, giving him his best chance of success.
Ian Garry, it's like anything. He's got to trade here. He does have the length. Ian does a very good job of controlling distance. Islam does a better job, I believe, of taking away distance. But you got a training camp. You got some time. Ian Garry, in theory, with that distance, in theory, he's right. If he can learn to keep you at the end of their punches.
Expanding on those physical advantages, Ray Longo described Ian Garry as a massive welterweight with an awkward, movement-heavy style that consistently helped him find ways to win. Longo believed Garry's size alone would create serious challenges for Islam Makhachev, making it one of the toughest matchups he could face. He added that the fight would serve as a true test of how Islam handled the welterweight division against such a physically imposing opponent.
He's a huge welterweight, which is going to pose a problem. I think he's got an awkward style. He's got, he moves a lot, and he seems to find a way to win fights. So I think this is a really tough matchup for Islam because of the size and the fact that he's had you kind of know what's going to happen. And I'm interested to see how that plays out. But this will be, I think, a really true test of where Islam is as a welterweight, because this kid's huge. He is a big welterweight.
From a striking perspective, Kenny Florian explained that Ian Machado Garry's striking was built around his footwork, which he believed was the key to troubling Islam Makhachev. Florian said Garry's ability to strike while constantly moving, combined with his height and reach, could help him keep Islam at range with long jabs, straight punches, and kicks, potentially forcing mistakes. However, he added that if Makhachev managed to close the distance, secure the clinch, and fight on the inside, the advantage would quickly shift in Islam's favor.
I think what makes Ian Garry Machado so interesting is the fact that his striking is all predicated off of his footwork. And that is the key to success against someone like Islam Makhachev, who's trying to get into that clinch position. And it's one thing to be able to strike, it's another thing to be able to strike and move, and Ian does that extremely well. He's going to have to be on his bike repeatedly, and it's further complicated for Islam Makhachev because of that length that you talked about as well, Ray. This is a guy who's like 6'3", 170 pounds. He can use those long-range weapons, be it the teeth down the middle or the kicks upstairs or those long jabs, to keep Islam frustrated and maybe force him into some bad shots. Now, if Islam is able to get to that clinch and find a way to get on the inside, then I think he has his way with Ian Machado Garry.
John Morgan echoed that approach and believed Ian Garry had the tools to make the fight competitive if he stayed disciplined. Morgan emphasized that Garry's best chance was to keep moving, fight from the outside, and rely on his range, speed, and accuracy to frustrate Islam Makhachev. However, he warned that if Garry was forced into the clinch or taken to the ground, the fight could quickly become a very difficult night for him.
So I want Ian to feel that way, that he does have the ability to be there, but I don't want to see it happen there. But I mean, if Ian can stay on his bike, stay outside, use his range, use his speed, use his accuracy, he can make it interesting. He can make it interesting. I think if he gets taken to the ground or stuck in the clinch, I think it's a long night for him.
John Thompson largely agreed, believing Ian Garry had a chance to trouble Islam Makhachev by using movement, staying elusive, and potentially catching him with a strike if Islam became frustrated while trying to close the distance. However, Thompson felt that if Makhachev secured a takedown, the fight could end within the first 2 rounds. In his view, Gary's best opportunity was on the feet, while the ground heavily favored Islam.
Sure, Ian Gary's got a shot. He can run around, he can do all these things, and he could, he could outpoint him, or he could potentially catch him with something on the way in if Islam gets frustrated and can't get his hands on him. I don't see that being the case. I honestly believe that if this fight hits the ground, that this fight could be over in 2 rounds. If he gets him to the ground. On the feet, it could become a problem.
Not everyone saw a path to an upset. Michael Chiesa backed Islam Makhachev to defeat Ian Machado Garry, saying he struggled to see anyone in the division beating the reigning champion. Chiesa explained that the only fighter he believed could have posed a unique challenge was Sean Brady because of his wrestling and grappling, but with the division evolving, he still expected Islam to remain on top for as long as he chose to compete.
My prediction right now, I think that Islam Makhachev beats Ian Machado Garry, and I just don't know. I don't see a world where Carlos Prates beats Islam Makhachev. I don't see a world where there's really any. Honestly, the only guy I really thought that could have gave Islam an interesting fight was Sean Brady because of the wrestling and the grappling. And obviously, he's kind of fallen back down the ladder. And Michael Morales is waiting in the wings. But it really all just depends on how long Islam wants to stick around, But I definitely think he wins this one.
Jed Meshew offered a slightly different angle. Jed Meshew argued that Ian Machado Garry's best opportunity to beat Islam Makhachev would come early in the fight, where a perfectly timed strike could produce a surprise knockout. Meshew praised Garry as a skilled and underrated contender, but stressed that stopping the sport's pound-for-pound best would be a massive challenge. While he refused to rule out an upset completely, he believed a finish over Makhachev was unlikely and still favored Islam to win.
I think Ian Garry has a better chance of getting an early knockout against Makhachev than a late one, because a late one would suggest that he has completely shut down Islam Makhachev from any level of success, and that seems unlikely to me. Whereas like an early one, it's just like, oh, he threw a flying knee and Makhachev ducked into it and he got him. Like that could happen. I don't think Ian Garry can't win this fight. I think that he is a very, very good fighter and perhaps underrated by people because he is an off-putting individual. He hasn't finished anyone since Daniel Rodriguez in 2023. Islam Makhachev's the best fighter in the world. Daniel Rodriguez is not. I think, again, not impossible. I think it is unlikely and foolish to think that Ian Machado Garry is going to finish Makhachev.
Sean Brady was far more decisive and gave a straightforward prediction, confidently backing Islam Makhachev to defeat Ian Garry. Brady believed Islam would be too much for Garry to handle and expected him to earn a dominant stoppage victory.
Seems like the next title fight is going to be Islam and Ian Garry, if the rumors materialize, it will be at UFC 330 in Philly. Are we trying to make a turnaround to get on that card and be on the same card as the title fight? And if it does happen, who do you think wins?
Even if they weren't on the card, I don't care who's main event in that card. As long as I'm not injured or anything like that, I obviously not looking past Buckley, not looking past May 9th. I want to be on that card. It's my dream to fight in Philly, especially on a stage as big as this, because who knows when they're going to come back again? It's been since 2019 was the last time they were here, so I don't know when they'll be back. And as far as who's going to win that fight, Islam is going to run through Ian.
Even so, not every analyst ruled out a shock result. Mike Bone viewed Ian Machado Garry as a fighter capable of pulling off one of the biggest upsets in recent UFC history. He noted that a victory over Islam Makhachev would not only hand Garry the biggest win of his career, but also bring an end to the champion's remarkable run at the top. Bone acknowledged that many challengers have come close to reaching that moment, only to fall short, while emphasizing that Makhachev remains an exceptional champion who can overwhelm any opponent when performing at his best.
Maybe he wakes us all up and says, okay, this is why this guy is different, and in the process breaks the record, becomes the first guy in UFC history to win 17 straight fights. Like no one has made it beyond this point ever. So like he is trying to do something unprecedented here, and we see, time and time again, these guys get to the cusp of this stuff and then they fall. So like I'm bracing myself for an Ian Garry victory already, but You know, Islam Makhachev is spectacular. I think as highly of him as anyone in the sport, any fighter we've ever seen. And if he goes and runs him over and we realize that, you know, Ian just simply isn't on the level, I would, one, be extremely impressed, and two, probably count that as one of his top 3 or 4 career victories.
Rounding out the discussion, Georges St-Pierre viewed the matchup as a classic battle of contrasting styles. He highlighted Ian Garry's polished stand-up game, but believed Islam Makhachev's world-class wrestling and control on the mat would likely shape the outcome once the fight moved into grappling exchanges.
Do you think Ian is a good choice to test Islam, who will be going for his 17th straight UFC win, trying to break Anderson Silva's record, which he's currently tied with?
Oh wow, yeah, that's wow. I think it's gonna be a good fight. Ian Garry, it's definitely a tough opponent, very good striker. But Islam once again, his goal gonna be to bring the fight to the ground, and you know, that's, you know, I think if he's able to do that, he's gonna have an edge. If Ian Garry is able to keep it on the feet, and Ian gonna have an edge, you know, so it's gonna be interesting.
The closer UFC 330 gets, the more divided opinions become. Some believe Ian Garry has the movement, size, and striking to shock the world, while others see Islam Makhachev's wrestling and championship experience proving too much to overcome. Only one prediction will matter when the cage door closes. Until then, the debate is far from over. If you enjoyed this breakdown, be sure to like the video, share your prediction in the comments, and subscribe for more UFC news, fight analysis, and updates.